I don't know what to make of this, but the Charlotte Hornets, they straight up beat down the San Antonio Spurs. Yeah, the Spurs had runs, but they was in the driver's seat the whole entire game. Give credit to Charlotte. 129 to 102 win over the San Antonio Spurs. Listen, people are going to say whatever they want to say. We're going to get into it about the San Antonio Spurs because I think that the San Antonio Spurs is clearly going in a different direction. I think the NBA need to investigate what's going on. And I stated that in the beginning of the season. Like, hey, somebody need to check shit out since the NBA like to meddle in everybody's affairs. Why don't see what's going on in San Antonio? You know, because they made a lot of tricky decisions. You know, you trade your best player for some picks. You know, not even nobody in return. You know, it's clearly showing me that you know, they tanking for the draft. They got the number one pick they coveting, and they got a player they're looking to go after. So let's see what happens, man. It's gonna be a great year. But listen, give credit to some of these guys on the Charlotte Hornets. I tell you what, Lamelo Ball was all smiles, all laughs, you know, for this game. It was time. Every time they showed the camera on Melo, he was yawning and shit. He was just getting tired, and I couldn't blame him because, like I said, the Spurs didn't really have much of a fight. They had a late slight run where they was able to cut it, but they didn't really cut it to the point where you thought that the Charlotte Hornets was going to lose this game. I want to give credit to Scary Terry right now, Terry Rozier. He came out today, no headband, I may add. He looked like he was just on attack mode, like he went back to old school Scary Terry. It wasn't perfect, but like I say, he had 24 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds in 30 minutes. Gordon Hayward, the one everybody loves to hate. This man came out and put up a 20-piece, 2 rebounds, and he had himself 5 rebounds. No, pardon me. He had 20 points, 2 assists, and 5 rebounds. You know, I want to get things specific for you. This guy, Nick Richards, I'm telling you, this is a guy who was balling out in the preseason, and you clearly seen some carryover from this guy. You know, James Bouknight, listen, I mean, where do we start? This is why I'm trying to tell you, you don't want to get too wild, you know, at a situation where they basically beat down the team, but the team they beat down is clearly tanking. I think everybody can agree with that. Stevie Wonder could see that the San Antonio Spurs is tanking, you know, so they clearly want to lose games this season. Bouknight has 0 points. I think that's really horrifying, you know, in 14 minutes. You know, that's not good. Dennis Smith came in today. 12 points on 21 minutes, you know, so everybody pretty much was productive who played today except for JT Thor and James Bouknight. The young guys really struggled, you know, that's where I asked, like, why are the young guys struggling right now with the Charlotte Hornets? Clearly you heard LeVar Ball state that, you know, what are they developing down here? Because you see, if you look at outside of, obviously, PJ is kind of like I'm gonna consider him one of the vets on this roster. This is not his first rodeo. You know, when you see him Bouknight, JT Thor, Kai, Mark Williams, Theo, you know, Nick Richards is a young player too, and he balled out. So I don't want to rule this with everybody, but the majority of the young guys, I'm just telling you, 0 points for Bouknight, 0 points for Thor, 3 points for Jones, even though you have 4 minutes. Mark Williams had 4 minutes. He had 2 points. You know, so Bryce McGowan's no points, and he had himself a decent preseason. You know, obviously LaMelo Ball was out, you know, with the ankle situation. Hopefully LaMelo should be back. But I think the more they could stockpile these wins, the more they could hold LaMelo back and say, yo, just chill out for a second, Melo. You ain't got to come in right now. You know, but they do have a game coming up Friday, which I do believe is going to be a heavyweight bout between the New Orleans Pelicans. I don't know if anybody has peeped, but the New Orleans Pelicans balled their ass off tonight as well. You know, the Pelicans had themselves a game, and the Charlotte Hornets, they could really make a name for themselves if they were to somehow mess around and beat New Orleans in that home opener. I predicted this season, but this was prior to the injury with LaMelo Ball. I predicted the San Antonio Spurs losing to the Charlotte Hornets at home. I had Charlotte going in there and winning, and I also had Charlotte beating the New Orleans Pelicans because I predicted that New Orleans would beat Brooklyn in an emotional game and come to Charlotte, and maybe take a night off, and Charlotte would take their ass out at home. That's what I predicted. Call me crazy. This guy, listen, let me tell you the team that this is where it's going to really count. People are going to overlook this game. Maybe people might not cover it like that. People are going to overlook what Charlotte just did for whatever reason. They will not be able to overlook if they win that home opener against this New Orleans Pelicans team. They're going to need these guys to bring it at home with that crowd and take down this team. They need to defy all the odds. Everybody has counted Charlotte out. They tanking for Victor. They going for the draft. This is a team that was in the play-in the last 2 consecutive years. How did all of these teams just leapfrog the Charlotte Hornets? That's how they got to start to really think about all of this. No matter if you had all this talent coming in, you didn't get this guy, you didn't get that guy. What about the people on this roster? You telling me that we just completely fell out from our spot, which is on the cusp of the playoffs, to just at the fucking bottom? I don't think that's the case. The Charlotte Hornets are not that bad, but let's see. This game against the Pelicans is going to tell it all. This is going to tell the Charlotte Hornets real this year, or they tanking for Victor. Because you had Zion Williamson, the return of Zion today. He played 30 minutes. There's no minutes restriction on Zion Williamson, ladies and gentlemen. This man had himself nearly a double-double with 25 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. You want to know his running mate? Brandon Ingram. This dude is a fucking problem. 28 points, 5 assists, and 7 rebounds. This dude, B.I., is actually moving the basketball, too, as well. They need to discuss that. That's not getting enough credit. I like what I'm seeing from him. C.J. McCollum, the veteran, 21 points. Listen, Charlotte going to have their hands full. This is the kind of game that, is going to be impressive. You're going to have also Devontae Graham. It's crazy because he's a Charlotte product. You know what's so crazy about this guy? He played 15 minutes tonight and had 0 points. What the hell is going on with these guys coming from Charlotte? I'm just saying, Najee Marshall had himself 4 points today. Dyson Daniels, no points, but he was a rookie. But that's just on the Pelicans side. I just was trying to touch on some of their younger talents. Even this guy, Trey Murphy, he has 16 points. Like, they young guys are developing. This is going to be a great matchup at home, and I think this is where people are going to take Charlotte seriously because people ain't blinking that they beat the Spurs tonight. Ain't nobody jumping for joy for that, but give credit to them nonetheless. I'm going to credit them because this was a young team without their best player. They had a lot of obstacles this season headed into this year. So many pitfalls, so many issues, drama, the media, and look what they did. They came out with a lot of fight, lost every preseason game, and came back and won this one. So pay respect to the Charlotte Hornets. Let's see if they can win that game in New Orleans. It's Flight Sports TV. We're going to be streaming that game too, so pull up.